episode 49 of Strange Brow Radio. I am your host, Hope Johnson, and today's guest we're calling Sarah. Needs to be that way. Sarah is anonymous, and there's a reason for it. Sarah lives in a skin twin. Sounds like it to me. That is a cousin, a twin to Skinwalker Ranch, and Sarah knows all about that. I'll tell you more about her in a second, but first, the holidays doth approach, and I think it's too late, probably, to say that you could order one of these alchemy sound devices at Feral by Aaron, but you could order one because they work, because whoever you got it for would much appreciate it, including yourself, drums, rattles, and smudge fans. At Feral by Aaron, E-R-Y-N. And let her know that you heard from it here at Strange Brow Radio. Shoot a message. All right, next up is going to be our witness, Sarah, and her skin twin issues. I'll be right back. Over the past week, I've gotten to know our guest tonight, anonymous Sarah, and her case. Now, I call it a skin twin, and that's because it is. These places where the veil is thin, and these properties where behavior of an unknown origin exhibits itself and wants to kind of lock you in its spell, interact with you, is a legitimate phenomenon. Sarah lives at one of these places. She reached out to me on a message board, and there was a sense of urgency, a frantic retelling of events, kind of just open thread, hopefully for anybody to respond to her. I did, and there was so much information. It was coming at me so quick, videos, pictures, and I felt like, well, we need to hit the brakes here. Let me call you. I did. And we set up an interview within a couple hours after her introducing herself to me. So what you're about to hear is me meeting this individual. Like I do a lot of guests, I guess, for the first time, but this one's unique because I've never ran home to do an interview before, and so this one I did. So you'll get a little bit of a taste of that as I introduce her, that we're kind of setting up shop as we are going into this interview. But this interview has it all. It's exciting, it's scary, and it's raw emotion coming out of a witness living through this at this moment as you hear this broadcast. And there certainly will be a follow-up to this, and you can look forward, I guess, if that's the way you could shape this, put that to it coming down the pike here, of course. So from California, that much we can tell you, is our witness, Sarah, living in one of these skin twins. Okay, we are on the air right now with who we're calling Sarah, and to give people an idea of how I heard about Sarah, this just fell into my lap less than a couple hours ago from the moment I started this podcast. To be frank, I was in the line for a car wash, and I got introduced to a thread, and in this thread, I quickly learned who Sarah was, and I know a little bit about your story here, but time was kind of the essence when we were speaking to one another offline, and then we quickly started to do in-house messaging, and things sounded kind of urgent, to say the least. So I headed back home to the studio, and now I have Sarah on the line here. So Sarah, give people a little idea. I know we need to be careful about certain particulars as it pertains to what's happened. Now, is this over the last couple of years things have unfolded, or less time than that?
Actually, it started for me in 1996.
Okay.
I had a kind of first sighting, and
Okay.
then there's been more sightings ever
Oh,
since then
okay,
for
well
the last 3 years.
let's go back to 96 then and explain to the people who Sarah is as delicately as we can without exposing you. What
Okay.
happened? What happened in
Okay.
'96?
Okay. I was young and not very confident in myself. I went to Yosemite National Park, and basically, we were young kids at the time, didn't know about the dangers of bears or anything. We were young, we were like early 20s. And what happened was we went to Upper Falls and we camped out there. We were the only dummies that would like decide to have a tent. When everybody would climb up Upper Falls, they would go back down. They never spent the night. We were the only ones out there pretty much. And in the middle of the night, we heard a horrible growl, so terrifying that it sends shivers down your spine. We were thinking it's a bear. Now, before we got there, they told us there's a lot of bears up here. Make sure you like hang your food because the bears will come and eat your food. And if it's in your tent, you're in trouble. Well, we were young, irresponsible at the time. And a roommate of mine brought a box of granola bars and left it inside the tent. So in the middle of the night, we heard this growl thinking it was a bear. I pointed at my roommate after we heard the growl and I said, the granola bar is a bear. So he unzipped it. He threw the box of granola bars as far away as he possibly could. And when we opened up the zipper, I looked with a flashlight as he's getting the granola bar and I saw something bipedal walking into the wood line. So we were like, what was that? It wasn't a bear. Like, what was that? Well, as soon as sunrise hit, we packed and we left. Never found the box of granola bars. And that kind of ruined our trip. So that's how it all started for me, wondering for years, what was that we saw? So years, you get married, you grow more confidence. I was a stay-at-home mom, and we were talking to friends, and they said, what was the most scariest thing that ever happened to you? And I said, well, this happened to me in Yosemite, and we don't know what it was. So they said, have you ever researched Bigfoot? Was it a Sasquatch? And I laughed. I was very judgmental. I'm like, Bigfoot. I learned a lesson, a very important lesson, not to be so judgmental, never even believing in ghosts, UFOs, any of that stuff. So I started researching it, and the more I researched it, I saw that there's a lot of people that have had sightings, and that's how I got involved in the whole Bigfoot community phenomenon type thing. So I had a sighting that was pretty well known. I can't mention names because then you'll know who I am, but it was very surreal because I saw a Sasquatch about 75 feet from me. I'm going to say where in Washington State. And it was funny because it looked cloaked on the video, which I never believed in cloaked at all. But I saw the creature, flesh and blood with hair, and it took off and left. It ran. It took 2 bipedal steps, went on all fours, and ran opposite side away from us. And I was thinking in my head at that time, I wanted to go to get answers for myself. Are these things real or not? Because in Yosemite, it wasn't it was dark. I wasn't quite sure if they existed, and they did. I saw 175 feet from me, and that's where my life changed forever for the better. I lost 150 pounds. I was in a very unhealthy marriage. And then that day I said, there's so much of life that we don't know about. It's time to be happy. And it made me kind of change my life for the better because I know there's a lot more to the world than what we were taught, basically. So that's how I got involved in the whole Sasquatch community.
Okay, now when was this case in Washington? When did the sighting happen?
That was September 9/11, 2014 was the sighting.
Okay.
And it was cloaked on video, but when I was looking at it with my eyes, it was flesh and blood. But in the camera, it looked like translucent, like a predator, which was totally weird for me. I didn't understand it. And that's when I got even more obsessed and I wanted to learn more about it. And my life changed for the better from that day on. So then it changed again. So what happened was I had another encounter. I live in Los Angeles. I'm just going to say that. And what happened was I went on a hike, and the people I was with, videotaped. We ran into 3 Sasquatches about a mile into the woods. It was around 6:30 at night, and the person that was with me videotaped our encounter twice. I ran in front of the people that I was with to protect them, and that forever changed my life because I've never seen an alpha male ever. It was the one in Washington was about 5 feet tall, young. He was young, and when you're in front of an alpha, it's a whole different ball game. If that makes sense, what I'm saying, like it's just all different. So it's definitely a lot more scarier because they're so enormously big, and there's no chance of me winning over a Sasquatch to protect someone, if that makes sense. Not that I would want anybody to hurt them, because they showed no aggression at that sighting. They were just very curious of us. So that's what happened with my third encounter. So what happened was I felt that I was brought to that trail because when I would navigate to get my daughters from school, I would navigate because I didn't know where I was. I was new in the area, and 5 times it would take me to the end of this trail. But when I first moved up there, I'm like, well, where do I start looking for Bigfoot? There's so many thousands of acres. Like, where do I start? And it kind of like led me like a mile away from my house on this trail. And that's where I had the encounters with the Sasquatch. And they came very close to us, about 20 feet. I was about 50 feet from the alpha male, and I was face to face with him. And it's caught on video too. The person I was with, she videotaped it twice as she was standing behind me. So that changed my life forever. And the reason why I have gotten so involved in this was because I was thinking after this happened, what if I was leaving the trail that day and I saw like a young family, a young couple coming on that trail to go for a hike like we did? What am I going to say to them? Like, don't go over there. There's large Bigfoot. They would say she's crazy. And I wanted to change things because we were taught as children, monsters aren't real, or these creatures do not exist. We're the only human type species, I guess you want to call it. Mm-hmm. So that's how everything changed for me. Things got a lot more intense. I ended up having to move to another house, and this house is very isolated with no neighbors, and it's very terrain, and mm-hmm. I'm the only house really there. So, and now, it got worse.
Let's go back a little bit first, Sarah. Scary. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you fine.
I want to get to the part where you're more isolated because of these encounters here, because from our brief conversation that we had over the phone, I get the idea that things have changed drastically from 1996, and then your second encounter where you saw one, was that the one that was 75 feet away, the 5 foot tall one?
Yes.
And what year was that?
Yes, in Washington, 75 feet. Yeah.
And
he was little. He was like.
That was after 96. So what year was this one?
This was 96 was Yosemite. Mm-hmm. 9/11, 2014 was Washington State.
Okay, gotcha.
And then Los Angeles was my third encounter.
And that was recently?
March 27th, 2017. Okay. That was the date.
And you're, and you're very sure about these dates here. I mean, these have been locked into your brain forever just based upon what you've seen here. So March 27th, 17.
Like when he passed away, or Princess Diana, you asked somebody, where were you when you heard mm-hmm. Princess Diana passed away?
Right.
It's the same thing. It was the same date. You know exactly where you were at that date. You know what I mean? It mm-hmm. affected you so much. That's how I feel anyway.
So on your first encounter back in 96, that was mm-hmm. just a chance encounter. Were you still kind of toying with the idea it was something other than a bear or a Bigfoot, or were you vacillating between the two?
Yeah, just because it didn't make sense to me, because I'm like, was that a bear walking? It was so dark, and the growl was so intense. Not that I knew anything about bears or mm-hmm. anything wildlife at all. I wasn't sure what was it that I saw, because it didn't look like a bear. It was walking on 2 feet. So in my head for years, when you're growing up, you don't have a lot of confidence in yourself. When you go through high school, you're kind of finding yourself. And then what happens is, as you get older, you become more confident in life. You don't care as much about things. You grow as a person, personality wise.
Sure.
That makes sense.
And you kept this to yourself back in 96? You didn't report it, did you?
Yeah, I never worked to anybody except my roommates.
Right.
They were my roommates. And we were like, it ruined our trip. We packed and we left because we were like, it was too scary. Like we kept asking ourselves in the car, like, and then we never talked about it again, which is weird. People have those experiences and they don't talk about it to the people that saw it too. You know what I mean? So it was awkward because I don't know if it's just insecurity of like people laughing at us, making us feel like we're crazy. And now that I'm like almost 50, I don't care what people think. Right. I am here to prove something because I believe people have the choice to know what's really out there. So they have a choice. We know there's mountain lions and snakes and moose and things that can hurt you out there. Let's be real and tell everybody what's really out there. You know what I mean? It's just, that's how I feel.
And then back in September 11th, which is an easy day to remember, 2014, you saw a 5-foot tall one. Is that right?
Yeah. And what happened was,
go ahead.
I wanted answers for myself, because when I went to see my friend who invited me, was so gracious. I told her, I don't want you to show me like old like footprints. I want to find my own structures. I want answers for myself. I don't want you to show me anything. I want to find it on my own, because you don't know if somebody's going to be hoaxing you and, oh, look what I found. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I wanted to find my stuff so I could answer the questions for myself, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So she didn't show me anything. The only thing she did show me was, she told me that she said that her dog, every time they would go on this trail, her dog would stop and look at the certain area, and she would kind of pull her away and go, come on, let's go. But her dog would always stop and look at this area, which is to me now like the play area of the Sasquatch. So when we were walking on that trail that day, we were walking straight, and she said, oh, let's go left, because I want to show you a tree twist that's been twisted like 3 times in like the last 3 years. So that's the only thing she showed me that to verify, you know what I mean? Like, so we did a quick left. The creatures thought we were going to keep walking straight, but we made a quick left, and they weren't expecting that. So I think we caught the juvenile by accident. He was hanging with one hand on a tree. And you know, when you walk in and somebody's getting dressed and you accidentally open the door and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Like, I just saw you. Sorry. It was that expression that the juvenile gave me. Like, oh God, you just saw me. And then I looked away because I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to see you. But in my head, what Washington creature is this? I'm from like Los Angeles. We don't have these things out here. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that was the expression it gave me. And I was just in awe, going, whoa, what? It looked like a chimpanzee in the body, but it had an alien-looking face. It had black, like almond eyes, all black, no white, and terrified of seeing me. And then that's when it jumped off the tree, took 2 bipedal steps, went quadrupedal, which means on all 4s, and ran away from us. And it was scared because it wasn't expecting us to turn left right away. And and she had it on camera. So that was now 2 sightings that I've had, and both of them were caught on film, which was kind of unusual because most people don't catch it on film when they have a sighting. So I felt that it was.
Now, when this thing left towards the brush bipedally, what did you guys do?
Yeah. We stood there and then I hear her say, did you guys just see that? And I'm like, I was in so much shock. I wanted to say like her name, I can't, let's say her name's Judy. I wanted to say, Judy, what is this? But I was so in shock. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. And there's so many things that go through your mind when you have a sighting like that. Like, is this, what am I looking at? Like, what are you? know what I mean? And that's how I felt. I couldn't speak. I was in shock. It was very surreal because right there at that moment, I knew, oh my gosh, they are real. They are Sasquatch. It's not just a myth. It's not a folklore or whatever they call it. It's real. Like, and what scared me was Mama should be around, and so was Dad. We wanted to get away from there as fast as possible. And what happened was when it ran, let's pretend it's at a U. We're like in a U. It ran towards more people that were sitting on the other side, and their dogs started to bark because they saw something run across the trail. There was more people sitting like at a U, kind of, if that makes sense. So a dog started barking because he saw something run across the path, and they didn't even see it, the juvenile run, if that makes sense.
Right. And is this a full-on expedition camp out? That's why you guys are there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. There was 13 witnesses, 7 witnesses where we saw the creature, 7 witnesses.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Stay.
And then we found.
Yeah, it sounds like you're moving around in the room just a little bit, or something happened with the phone.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's a little bit echoey.
Is that better?
That's way better.
My dogs are trying to make noise.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm sorry.
What time of day real quick here to kind of paint the picture? Is this a night walk, or what do we do? What time of day is this?
It was around 11:30 a.m.
Okay, so right in the middle of a night. It was like nice weather in the middle of the afternoon.
Absolutely beautiful weather. Not even expecting. You know what? When we went there, my ex-husband, he went with me on the airplane. He said to me, "If you don't see a Bigfoot, are you going to be disappointed?" And I said to him, "No, we're not going to see one." I said, "You're very lucky if you see one. I just want to go and like learn about it. I want to like talk to people, because here in LA, if you bring up Bigfoot, they say like, what medication are you on? Are you a psychiatric patient? Totally different geographic. If you go to Oregon and you say, I had a Bigfoot sighting, they'll say like, where was your sighting at? It's so different.
Yeah.
Different parts of the state.
Right.
Completely different. So,
okay. Yeah. So this one, you described the eyes. That was pretty interesting detail here. Did you say almond shaped eyes?
Yes. Black almond shaped eyes.
Okay.
It was they were enormous, black almond shaped eyes, almost like it didn't fit the body head proportion. No neck. Yeah, no neck. But as he was running like away from me, I could see pink of his skin on his back. Like I could see him running, but I could see his skin and it was pink, which was, to me, was interesting, because the alpha male that I ran into in March was completely gray. He was all gray. And either they don't bathe, so they're gray because they're dirty, or that's just their skin color. And he also had black almond shaped eyes, enormous. He also had human ears, like us, but like big ears too. And he also had 5 long fingers, and he scratched his face. He had no worries about us seeing him at all. The last encounter, the March one.
Okay, so just to finish up on 9/11 here, the juvenile, we'll call it here, with the pink skin on its shoulders and the back there, it goes down quadrupedically and it ducks in the brush. Is there any more involvement with Sasquatch there for the rest of your expedition? I mean, did you guys get visited on after?
Yes, I got everything that you can experience except the smell. I was able to experience all of it, like rocks being thrown at us, screams at night, which was terrifying. It was so scary because I was like, this little tent isn't going to protect me from like vinyl, you know what I mean? At night, when they scream at night, it's like a woman being like tortured. It's scary, really scary. And we were at a campsite. So when she said, I'm like, where are we going to be sleeping? I'm thinking a hotel room. She's like, out here in the wilderness. So I'm like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? We're going to sleep in the tent, like out in the woods? I was scared, It's scary, but I learned to be tough, and I learned that these are beautiful species and I love them.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a lot of bad people that have bad experiences. I've had horrible experience. Now, I was able to experience a very bad experience.
Okay, so this
Now,
bad experience comes between 2017 and today.
yes.
Okay. Well, let's get into some of this here. But before we do, during any one of these encounters, 96, 2014, and 17, did anything exhibit itself that was outside the normal bounds of science? Did you see anything that seemed totally irregular or supernatural with any of these sightings?
I was very flesh and blood. Like when somebody would say they're telepathic, I would think your experience is your experience, and I am no one to judge, because I used to be the person that would judge people and say Sasquatches aren't real. That's a bunch of bull. I learned a huge lesson, because when people would tell me things like they're telepathic, they have abilities. Like, this is just an example. I have a friend, and she is in Michigan, and she's a single mom. She has an autistic son, and they're all around her house, like they're around my house now. And she said that when she takes a picture of them and she sends it to me, she'll think for a minute, okay, I'm going to take a picture because I know they're right outside my house. So she grabs her cell phone, she walks up to the window, and she takes a picture of them. Mm-hmm. Now they're looking at her as she's taking the picture. That picture that she sends me is very blurry. But when she doesn't think about, like, a long time, like, I'm going to take a picture, I know they're right over there, she'll grab the cell phone without thinking too much, and she'll take a picture of them facing, like they're not facing her, and the picture is clear as can be. So when a creature is looking at you, the pictures are very blurry. And I noticed that when, like, there's one of, she sent me a picture, it's on its belly and it's getting on top of a deck. And by the way, her whole block is abandoned. She's the only person there. Everybody moved out. So she took a picture of one on the balcony, on its belly, climbing up, and the picture's completely clear. So I wonder, when they look at the cameras, do they have some kind of ability that they make the pictures
now
blurry?
you were witness to some of this ability here, because you described cloaking in the 2014 or 2017. Which one was it?
And the camera was facing the creature. 2014, she carries a stick with, like, an iPad, and
okay.
So she was recording it, and I was in the video, and so was the creature. So but it wasn't too blurry. It wasn't. I mean, it was close. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? It was the camera was facing the creature on 9/11, and it looked close, like the predator. But when my friend in Michigan takes a picture quickly without thinking about it, and it's facing away from her, it's clear as can be. It's so weird. And does everybody have bad cameras? No. Like, what ability do they have that they can make? How do they even know what cameras are, for one? Right? Like, I'm like, how do they know what a camera is? Now I know why. Now I think I know why. And I'll explain that to you when you're ready for me to share
well,
that.
yeah. Well, I mean, what you're describing is, it explains a lot if what you're describing is true. So somehow they're disturbing the force between the camera aperture and the subject there. Whether or not it's our intention and how we're taking a photograph and what our intention is of doing with it, I'm not quite sure. You're not quite sure. But unless you are sure, are you sure of something now having to do with why photographs are blurry, why there's such things as blob squatch? What's your theory?
Okay, this is just my theory. This isn't my opinion, which means nothing, by the way. This is what I've learned, and my theory is, I believe they know that we could see them on camera. Like, I have the Ring doorbell, which is like a security system. It is, the Ring is, let me just explain it to people. It's a security camera, and when something comes on your property, you can make it to like 30, 40, 50 feet. So if something comes like 45 feet near your home, it'll detect it and it'll start recording. So what happened was, as it gets closer, it knows it's being detected by like the Ring doorbell. So I could see things on the Ring doorbell that I can't see with my naked eye. So this is an example of what happened. I had friends over and I was looking at the Ring on my cell phone and I see this cloud start to appear on the ground. And I'm like, this is kind of weird, Ryan. I'm like, why is there a cloud on my cell phone, but you can't see it with your naked eye? I don't understand this. Well, my boyfriend and Alex, they were on the ground, like looking around the woods in my backyard. And then I said, why is it that we could see the cloud on the Ring, but we can't see it with our naked eye? What's happening right now? And then he's like, maybe like a cloud is on the ground. I'm like, no, clouds aren't usually on the ground. It wasn't foggy that day. So what happened was I started thinking, oh my gosh, like we could see what's happening with the camera that we can't see with our naked eye. And what happened was this cloud got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was a portal. And what happened was I saw my boyfriend and Alex go up to, I have a shed that's about 30 feet from my house. And what happened was all these creatures started like touching my boyfriend and Alex. And when I saw that on the Ring, looking at my cell phone, you can't see anything with your naked eye. I screamed at them, run in the house now, run, because I could see these creatures touching my boyfriend and Alex. And I'm trying to save them, like saying, run back in the house, run back in the house. So they did. They listened to me. They ran back in the house and they said, what's going on? And I'm like, I could see things happening on the camera, on the Ring, when we can't see what's happening in our own naked eye, like you're inside of a portal. So I don't know why I did this, but I felt like I was Superwoman. So I said, I'm going to go down there because they know me. This is an example of what happened. I was sitting on my back balcony and I could hear them coming. One's on my left, one's in the front of me, and one's on the right. And I was sitting on my balcony and I said, you know what? I'm not afraid of what you look like. I've seen you guys before. It doesn't scare me. Why don't you just walk up and just show yourself? I'm not going to freak out. And I'm thinking nothing's going to happen, right? Like nothing's going to happen. It did. One walked up to the shed and just stared at me. And what I did is I said, I'm going to take a couple pictures. So I took a couple pictures on my cell phone and ran in the house. And I could not believe what just happened. I was like in shock. I was white. I was pale. I have never asked them, just walk up and show yourself. I'm not afraid. And it did. And I have pictures of it. And it's just like, it was so surreal at that moment. Almost like they know that when they know that you know about them, they aren't afraid of themselves to you as much as if you've never seen them before. If that makes sense.
Now, Sarah, prior to 2017, though, you didn't have them coming in on your property, did you?
2017, no. We moved to a different house in the isolated area. So I lived in a different house, like with like the city, and then I moved to this house that I hate. That I've seen horrible things there, and I believe there's a portal there that is right behind my house. And it's
okay, but this is all new to you, though. Prior to this, you had no clue that there were even portals. I mean, you were solidly in the flesh and blood camp until 2014.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be honest, like, I'm not afraid of my experiences. I don't care what people think. If they think I'm crazy, I don't care. I want to learn about these creatures. I know they have abilities that we can't even begin to comprehend. You want me to just like give you an example? On Thanksgiving, we had a huge snowstorm. It was a big snowstorm. My daughters went with their dad for Thanksgiving. I was by myself at home, and I knew something was wrong because the morning of Thanksgiving, I open up my windows, my many blinds, and I see them like hiding around my house. Like we have two houses next to us. One is abandoned and all the furniture is left behind. Like those people got up and left and never came back. The people that live on my left hand side they're elderly. They're only there 2 days a week and they go to their children's house to babysit their grandbaby and they're gone 5 days a week. So I'm alone. There's no other neighbors.
Well, wait, hold
And
on,
what
Sarah.
happened?
Now, hold on. What about these neighbors? Do we know anything? Did you ever meet these
I know
neighbors
one
that
died.
got up and left? Did they ever say why they left in a hurry?
They never said. We never found out. I know one died there, and I don't know how he died. I don't know, but their furniture's still there. I looked
Okay.
through the window. It's
Okay.
and then there's like a black feather like wedged inside their door,
There's
which
a
is
what?
weird. Like a black feather that's like stuffed in like their door jamb. I don't know what that means because I
Oh,
found a black feather in my basement with rocks and sticks. They were able to get into my basement because we have a padlock, but I don't have a key
okay.
to the padlock. So when
So
I
you're
opened up to like put,
go ahead.
go
Sorry.
ahead.
No, you have objects appearing inside your house.
Yeah, and this is the most scariest part. There's 12 structures behind my home, huge structures,
Mm-hmm.
like burnt trees that have been dragged, like, and I found my stuff in their structures. That see, we put our trash in the basement because the bears. They went through my trash, but they didn't like tear open up like the trash bag. They very carefully took stuff out of the bag, and I found my stuff in their structures that belonged in my home, if that makes sense.
No,
And I know for a fact,
it'll make sense to a certain amount of the audience here, but in your opinion, is there any way that they got into your basement physically, unlocked it,
yeah,
and then okay, so
and they use
explain.
intelligence.
Okay, go ahead.
Like our latch is not, the latch isn't easy. It's not just like a little. It takes intelligence to like take the lock out, and then it's one of those doors where like you have to kind of it's like a hinge where you have to move it left to right. It's not like a you know what I mean. It takes intelligence to
Mm-hmm.
open the
Right.
latch. They went to my basement, grabbed trash, and brought it to their like structures. And the reason why I know that it's mine, because let's say if it was a red cup, right? A lot of people can buy red cups, but I had a Halloween cup that I cut in half because I have a pet rat. So what I did is I cut the cup that was a Halloween cup with ghosts and like candy corn on the cup, and I used it as a little food, like a little food dish for my rat. So when I cleaned the cage, I found that little cup that I cut inside of their structures. So I find stuff that belongs in my house in their structures,
And they're
which I took
possible.
pictures of. Like
Right. From your house to
like
their.
they like it.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
to their structures.
there's a lot to go through here, and I want to make sure that we take the time to get through the second half of this here, because that's where we are today. You're no longer at home, and there's a reason for that.
No.
So don't answer this question here, but think about this. We're going to go to break, but uh, here's the question for you: is uh, it sounds as though you're a little bit torn. If you had it to do all over again, knowing where you're held up today because of the questions that you've had and how deep you've gone down the rabbit hole, I'd love to ask you whether or not you would do some of this all over again. So let's go to
I would
break.
do it
Let oh.
all over.
Okay, hold that thought. We're coming right back,
Sorry.
and we'll pick up where we
Okay.
left off here. So again, we're here with anonymous witness Sarah. Things have changed drastically in her world, and we're going to get into some of that here in a moment, and we'll be right back, folks. This year, make it a Feral by Aaron Christmas or Yule. Imagine above the hearth an empty sock. Stick a Feral by Aaron rattle inside that baby. Underneath the tree, what do? I don't know. He or she loves interesting alchemy sound tools. Oh my gosh. Get an elk hide drum, or a bearskin drum, or deerskin drum, or if you have a Christmas spirit that lingers, and it's this time to shuffle off to Buffalo, you may want to look at Smudge Fans. Feral by Aaron has beautiful, crafted museum quality, and I mean that, alchemy sound tools. That's at Feral by Aaron at Etsy.com. So hang up a piece of mistletoe, get online, and make Feral by Aaron your one-stop shop. Strange Brow Radio wishes you and all your family a happy holiday, a beautiful Yule, and a Merry Christmas. Okay, we are back with our anonymous witness, Sarah, here. And folks, you'll have to excuse any kind of phone interruption here or static. This was a meeting on the fly. It had to be done that way here. So I hope you can excuse any static that may come in through the phone line here. It's a setup that is a little bit raw in the making, but I think we've got it so far. So, okay, well, you already answered part of the question here, whether or not you would do this all over again to get to some of the answers that you've gotten to, and you've got some pretty good answers so far. You've verified that Sasquatch can cloak. You've verified that these other activities happen alongside them, including, I think you mentioned mind speak and things of that nature. Now you know that they can learn ways to get inside your house and access things that belong to you for their own purposes here. You're living as an extended experiencer, and that's something that is kind of my bread and butter. That's what we try to deal with on the show here. So let's start from there and talk about what it is that you have had happen to you that has put you in a hotel room in a state of kind of, I mean, you're frantic right now. I don't mean that as a put down, but you're very, I mean, this is an emergency podcast for you. You want to get a message out and you feel as though people are in danger. So what the heck has changed?
Okay, so basically, it's all weird how it happened. I don't feel like this was a coincidence. I was paying my rent. I rented a house, and the people that owned the house foreclosed, but they were continually taking my rent. So I got served to go to court, and basically the judge didn't want to look at my paperwork, like my bills, and he said, you have a day to move out of the house. I'm like, how is that possible? Well, the bank owns the house now because the people that own the house filed for foreclosure, and they've been taking your money. I'm sorry, ma'am. My heart goes out to you, but you have to move tomorrow. So I had one day to look for a house. I have a friend who's a real estate agent who owns many properties. And I called him and I was crying. I was saying, I got kids. I got to find a place to live in one day. I'm packing as I'm crying, making phone calls. He said, I have a place for you. So he gave me the address. He said, I want you to go look at it and see if you like it. I said, okay. Well, long and behold, he gives me the address where I saw the creature on March 27th, right across the street from where I had the encounter with the people I was with. So I'm like, this is really weird because it's so close to where I had the encounter. I love the house. The house is cute. It was built in 1935, very isolated. Not a lot of people that live on that street, very woodsy. And what happened was, the first thing that happened that was bad was I noticed a tree twist, because once I moved in, I kind of started to explore the woods. And I was by myself, and my boyfriend was like visiting me. And what happened was he heard me scream because I videotaped a tree twist, which means, those people who don't know what a tree twist is when somebody grabs a tree and then they twist it with hands. You need hands to twist something. And there was all these woods that were stacked on top of the tree twist, but there was one stick that was sticking up. So I videotaped it, and then I lifted up the stick to see if it was planted or put there. As soon as I lifted up the stick, hundreds of yellow jackets started to come out of the hole that I just lifted the stick up, and I got stung like 27 times, 27 times. So I started to scream because it was so painful. My boyfriend heard me scream, ran out of the house. I couldn't even walk because I was just being stung over and over and over again. I'm allergic to bees, for one. He picked me up, he threw me in the shower, took off my clothes. He's being stung, trying to get these bees off of me. And that was the first bad sign of this is not a good place to be. That was like my first warning, like this is not good at all. I was very sick for like 2 days. And then things started happening when at night it looked like a dog man, huge, with horns. And he would, like the same symbol where like you hold your pinky and like the finger next the index finger, I guess.
Oh,
Like the same symbol.
you mean like
You know what I mean?
like the throwing up horns like at a metal concert?
Yeah, like how like the satanic
Mm-hmm.
people, they hold like their two fingers up.
Mm-hmm.
Like that means it means Satan symbol or whatever. He would stand every night by the shed, and I could see him holding up like the hands. And I'm looking at the camera going, is this a shadow? Is this like the trees? Is this real? But then what I started to notice was he would take things out of my house and he would flaunt it in front of the camera. Like he would get like a dead animal and he would show it in front of the camera. And I'm like, and I would rewind the camera because I have security cameras. I'm like, am I seeing this right? I would show my boyfriend, are you seeing what I'm seeing? He said, yes, I'm seeing it. So things just got progressively worse and worse. And when it started to get really bad is when they knew that there's a portal right behind my house. I started to explore it behind my house, found 12 structures. I mean big structures. I found mold flies. Mold flies are the kind of flies that when people or animals are dead, the flies will come. They're called mold flies. And what happened was I went with a friend of mine. I found drug paraphernalia in a bag. I found a silver bullet like that military uses. And I found like his cup and a hat. So we collected it and we took it to the police department and we said, we found this. And immediately the police saw the bullet like a missile. It was like 6 inches long. He goes, where did you find that? And I go, we found it in the woods behind my house. He said, usually it's not silver, it's gold. And that we thought that was all weird. I don't know what kind of druggie is going to leave their drugs behind. Does that make sense? Like a drug person, is it going to leave a bag full of drugs?
Well, yeah, let's go over the inventory. You found drug paraphernalia of what kind? Needles, syringes, spoons, things like that?
Wax, like all, like
okay.
It was like a bag. And the weird thing was it was tied. I don't know if people know this, but the Sasquatch have a certain way of tying knots. Like as an example, I had a rope that was hanging by my house, and like somebody put like a tire, like if a kid was playing, like a swing.
Sure.
And they removed the rope and they tied it weird. Not like we tie knots. It was a weird type of knot, which I thought was really strange. So what happened was when my friends came over, because what happened was in my daughter's room, I noticed that something from the inside made because see what I did is my daughter and I came home one day and we were playing. I put my handprint, and it was kind of a cold day, and then she put her handprint like on the glass window. Well, then like the next day there was a big handprint on the glass window, and I'm like, that's weird. Like, where did this come from? Mm-hmm. It's a big hand. That's my daughter's hand. That's my hand. Whose hand is that? Like, you know what I mean? It was just those.
Well, was it on the outside of the window?
It was on the inside of the window, and that's what terrified me. And that's when I freaked out, because I don't know if people know this, but the Sasquatch creatures, in my opinion only, they're very oily. They have a lot of oil in their hands and feet. So I have tile on the bottom of like my first floor, and I found oil like footprints, 5 toes, heels, and torso break inside of my house. And what I did is I wrote a happy face with a smile and some hair. Well, when I was in my daughter's room, I have a routine. I make her bed. I open up like the curtains, and I looked, and there was a smiley face from the inside of her room. And that is just when I freaked out, because they also use claw marks. My daughter has a smart TV in her room, and there's 4 claw marks that they scratched my TV that I have pictures of to show you.
Okay.
But,
Now let's hit the brakes here for a second, because we've gone through a lot in the last 5 minutes. We started with a horned creature of some kind throwing up horns and flaunting kills in front of your
right.
camera here. We've gone to drug paraphernalia and silver bullets in the woods. And what else was with it?
It was like a glass cup, like a coffee cup.
Okay, so these were like collected items that were all in a group in the forest behind your house.
Yeah, but they were like 5 feet apart.
Okay.
And then the worst part was I saw drag marks going somewhere with bare footprints. I don't mean bare like BEAR, like BARE.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my God, did somebody die here? Like, did somebody get dragged here?
Now, is
so
this
we went to the police right away.
Okay, so let's go back to this horned creature, because that's concerning. Is this creature still around, and have you researched at all what you're seeing?
Well,
I mean, are you familiar with the term Baphomet? Do you feel like this is? I mean, Baphomet, of course, is known for being worshipped as a satanic or a god of kind of goat, half goat.
I walked up to him.
Well, wait.
Massive.
You walked up. How close did you get to this?
Well, that's when I was in the portal, not even knowing I was in the portal, and he was standing right there. I have pictures of it. I have pictures of Alex and my boyfriend and me. That's when I start to float inside the portal.
Okay,
and it was taking me to it.
Let's explain what's going on here, because part of when you and I got to know one another on the line less than 3 hours ago from the moment we're talking right now, you sent some photographs online, which really caught my eye. And one of the photographs here, and we'll talk about what we're going to do with these photographs after online here, was from your Ring doorbell system, which I believe must have an IR lens, because this looks like a night shot. And it shows what appears to be your legs floating.
I'm floating.
And I see the bottoms of your feet within the photograph here, and they're both pointing towards the camera, and you're moving, it looks like, away from the camera into something.
Yeah, it's taking me to that satanic whatever it is with the Satan symbols. But there's also a creature that's biting my shoulder. What happened was I was in a coma, because I know I'm kind of all over the place. I'm trying my best, because it's so hard to talk about. I'm really suffering. Sorry.
No, and I don't want you to feel bad for going all over the place here.
No,
but I feel like it's no, you're fine. I just want to make sure that you know that you have an advocate here, first and foremost, that the people in the audience that listen to this show, they know my personal story here, and they know how weird everything got with me. And the other people that we've spoken to on the show in the last 9 to 10 months have had similar circumstances, but yours is very drastic. I mean, you have been baptized in fire with a lot of supernatural paranormal stuff, and we haven't even got halfway through the story yet here. So somehow through this synchronistic moment here, you've given yourself 24 hours to find a new home, and you've gone straight into, like, the target zone of one of these, what I would call skin twins, which is a coined term for a place like Skinwalker Ranch, a skin twin, a twin to Skinwalker.
I've been to Skinwalker Ranch, and I made a huge mistake. Please listen to me, what I have to say, audience. I was dumb enough to pick up a rock from Skinwalker Ranch, Area 51. I've been to all the land between the lakes. I picked up a rock and brought it home with me. The day that I was attacked, Thanksgiving, I grabbed all the rocks that I collected and I threw them out of my house because I don't know if that's what caused all this. I
Mm.
also did something very stupid, and excuse my language. I started playing Ron Moorhead Sierra Sounds, trying to attract them because I could hear wood knocks when I first moved into that house. And I'm like, they're here. I'm going to do Ron Moorhead. I love Ron to death. He knows it. Carrie knows it. But Ron said to me, honey, we don't know what they're saying. Like, you don't ever play that because we don't know what they're saying. And that's when everything started happening. Bad. So
Okay,
I'm
well,
going to just say one thing.
go ahead.
I'm not afraid of dying for my cause. Like, I have been very ill ever since. This is one thing that I'm talking to a lot of researchers. A lot of us who research deeply in this have gotten very sick. I've had 2 strokes. I've had bilateral pneumonia with collapsed lungs. I was zapped. I lost 2 units of blood, had to have a blood transfusion. All these medical things have happened to me, and I believe that they are the cause of it, in my opinion.
Now, when you say they, who's
I'm
they?
45 years old or whatever, how old I am. I'm too young to have 2 strokes.
Sarah, who is they?
The creatures,
Okay, which creatures?
like Dogman, I mean, I love the Sasquatch species, and in my heart, I believe that there was. See, like I was laying on the couch in my living room, and it's all glass. They could have easily broken through the glass, picked me up, and taken me, and nobody would have ever known. These 3 like Sasquatches stood next to, like, on the other side of the wall, and it's all glass. I'm laying on the couch vomiting, and they watched me the entire night. I feel like they were protecting me for some reason because there was another clan of Sasquatch that looked evil, had an evil presence. Like there was like a war between 2, the good Sasquatch and the bad ones. And what happened was on Thanksgiving, I was surrounded by the bad ones at the beginning. And for some reason, these big ones came and they protected me. They could have taken me. They were very curious of me. They stood right next to the other side of the wall as I'm vomiting on the couch. I was so sick, I didn't even care at that point because I thought I was going to die anyway. I was just like, please make it a quick death. Please, please, please. And they were good to me. They just watched me the entire night. One thing I remember in and out of consciousness was there was a dog man that was inside my home. And he was just looking at me. And he was looking towards the kitchen. But then I was out of consciousness again because I was losing so much blood. But then I look to my left and I see the good Sasquatch, I'm going to call them the good ones, watching me. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to anybody?
Sure.
I know it sounds so far, but I feel like there was a good one, Guardians. I have a picture of me in my house of a Sasquatch right behind me, and it's clear as day. And I'll send it to you. There's just so many things that happen that if I tell anybody this, like, they're going to say she's crazy. Like, is she delusional? Like, is she unstable? Is she people judge. One thing that I learned is, that story where that woman sued McDonald's because she got burnt with having hot coffee. Well, what they don't know about this woman is the McDonald's coffee machine was broken and it overheated let's say 500 times. So it heated 500 times than it should have been. What happened was they served her coffee. She was an older lady. She put her coffee between her legs because she drove a stick shift. And what happened was the machine was broken and it melted through the cup and she got 3rd-degree burns and she sued McDonald's for it. That's my story. It's like, listen to my story and then you'll understand before you judge me. Does that make sense of what I'm trying to say?
Of course.
Kind of.
Yeah, no, it does, Sarah. And just to reiterate, the portal, the Baphomet type creature, the drug paraphernalia, the silver bullets, the dog man stuff. All of this stuff is happening in this 1935 rental that you found within 24 hours. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're no longer there.
No, I mean, I've been there for 3 months. This all happened in 3 months.
Okay. But
All this stuff
today you're calling me from a hotel room.
Yes, I got out. I had to.
Okay.
Because I was so sick. I had to be close to a hospital.
Okay. So did you move out because of safety reasons or because of convenience to a hospital?
Both.
Okay.
I'm too scared to go home. And that's the thing. It's like, it's $100 a day at a hotel. But right now I need my sanity to be strong. And I need to go back to deal with them because I will not let fear stop me. They're not going to run me from my house.
Okay.
And they feed on fear. And they're surprised that I'm not scared. They're like, why is she not scared of us? Like, they're not understanding. Most people would run and get out and, like, you know, I'm like, I'm not going to let you. No. And I think that they're very interested of the fact that I'm not afraid of what I'm seeing. I'm not. I don't have a healthy fear, I guess, if that makes sense.
Now you mentioned that you took items from Skinwalker Ranch, in particular Area 51, the land between the lakes, but you have connections to Skinwalker Ranch beyond just taking a rock.
And I met the people that live at Skinwalker Ranch. They were very nice.
Did you meet the original homeowners known as the Gormans in the book?
They introduced themselves as Candace and Bob. I don't know if that's their real name.
Okay.
But the funny thing is that I posted on Facebook. I have a lot of followers on Facebook. I put, I'm on my way to Skinwalker Ranch. As we were pulling into the long driveway, they were coming out. And they were like, oh, hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm Candace. I'm Bob. And then I told them my story, and they were like, this is so fascinating. They were so nice, young couple. And I said to them, please do not be alone. Always stay together. Never, ever go venturing by yourself, because these things are not to be messed with. And the weird thing is that these bird sounds, after we were leaving the Skinwalker Ranch, there were these bird sounds that were playing on our radio, and our radio was turned off. It was so weird.
Did you say burst, like a burst of energy?
Birds. No, like birds, like a bird chirping.
Oh, a chirping bird sound that would turn your radio off?
Chirping bird sound with the radio off. And Ed was my witness. And we even called his brother, and we're like, do you hear that? The radio is off. Like, what is singing? Like, what bird is here? You know what I mean? It was just awkward.
Now, Sarah, were you invited out to Skinwalker Ranch?
No, I just went to go visit myself, and the people came out as soon as I put on Facebook, I'm on my way to Skinwalker Ranch. They saw, I guess, the car coming. They came out, and they were very nice. Candace and Bob is what they introduced.
Okay. Now, when did this happen?
Maybe 6 months ago.
Okay.
Maybe.
So, what was it like when you drove up to Skinwalker Ranch as far as getting close to the house? Did you encounter any kind of security system, or what was that part like?
It wasn't what I really expected, but one thing I did notice that bothered me was there was a lot of bones in a certain area, and like cow bones. Like, I found like 7 skulls, 8 skulls, bones everywhere in a certain part. And I'm wondering, are they feeding them so they don't need people, or like, where are these skulls and bones coming from? They're all in one place. Are they dumping like dead cows so they can eat, so they don't eat other people? I don't know. These are just theories.
So you get up to the entryway or the gate, or what did you drive up to, and how did this part happen where you get up close to where you think is Skinwalker Ranch, and a husband and wife come walking down the driveway, or what happened there?
Well, we went to there's like a little restaurant called like the Little Aliens or whatever. And I made friends with the waitress because I like to make friends, you know, and I start talking to people, and I'm like, how do I get there? She's like, oh, honey, just take this road and make a left, and it's right there. You'll see it. And so she gave me directions on how to get to the Skinwalker Ranch Road. So I did. She said one thing to me: do not take anything from there, not even a rock. Did I listen to her?
Mm-hmm.
No, because I'm stubborn, and I took a rock. And shame on me, because I feel like I get what I deserve because I didn't listen.
Now, what
You know what I
state?
mean?
What state is this in that you're at this point? What state are you in?
Utah.
Okay,
Utah.
and so
I think
in Utah, they have a restaurant called the Little Alien, just like in Area 51.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting. All right, and
Wait,
so
it's a state. Hold on. Is it? No. Wait, hold on. I'm trying to think if it was Area 51 or.
really,
I don't remember if it was Area 51 or if it was Skinwalker Ranch. There is a restaurant in one of those places. I don't remember,
right.
to be honest with you.
But when you went to
I think
Utah,
Area 51.
when you went to Utah and you went to Skinwalker Ranch, you drive up to a driveway of what you think is Skinwalker Ranch, and coming up the road were two people that were willing to meet you, Candace and Bob.
Yes, as they have a lot of security cameras,
Uh-huh.
and they kind of shortened the runway to get up there.
Uh-huh.
Like they have those freeway like cement things, so they have cameras and it says like stop beyond this point.
Right.
Like you do not come. As we stopped there because we obey, we saw like another car coming out of the ranch.
Okay.
And they met us. And then they said, "Oh, like hi, it's so nice to meet you." I'm like, "Hi, I'm so and so, and this is what happened to me." And they were like fascinated with my story. And then they said, "Do you know George? Have you been on like Coast to Coast with George Norrie?" I go, "I love him." I'm like, "I would love to meet him. That would be like a dream come true." And they smiled like they knew him. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and I said, I also would love to meet Mr. Bigelow, like, because I would love to share a lot of information that I know that some people don't know. I feel like I've been taken and I've been given information, if that makes sense. I mean, it's embarrassing for me to say that, but
now, well, I just want to close this chapter here with Candace and Bob, because it's interesting that they came and approached you, the way that they did, because typically we hear that this place is so off limits that it's changed ownership, at least 2 or 3 times since the early 90s or middle 90s. And now it's in between a government contract and, Harry Reid's involved with getting money transferred in and out of Skinwalker Ranch, and there's documentaries being made. So you ran into these two farm. How were they dressed, and did they say that they were the owners of the ranch? Because I mean, this is kind of groundbreaking news to get a name attached to owners of the ranch.
They said, I asked them, I said, like, "Are you the owners now?" And they said, "No, we are actually just eyes for the ranch."
Okay.
That's how they explained. I said, "Okay, so your eyes." They wouldn't give me their last name, but they asked me for my name, so I gave it to them. And I said, "Look, this is like the video that we took during our encounter." And I said, "Please be very careful because we don't know what we're dealing with." You know what I mean? So, and they were so nice, young, beautiful couple, looked in love, looked like they were joined at the hip. They took care of each other. I had a good sense. I have a good intuition of people. Like when I see someone that isn't very nice, like I sense it. Like they were very, very good people.
And
they were very interested.
How long did you get to visit with Candace and Bob?
Probably an hour, half an hour, an hour.
Oh, so quite a bit. I mean,
we were in the car. We weren't like invited inside or anything.
Right,
like that.
right.
We were like outside. Yeah.
Now at
and
this
they
point,
said,
go
whatever
ahead.
you do, don't go like past this because there are armed guards. There are stuff underneath the ground where they could sense you walking. Please, like, make sure you obey like the rules. I'm like, of course. We're not like, I've never been to jail, never even gotten a ticket. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
I have a lot of respect. Of course, it's their home, so.
Okay, and at this point, when did you remove something from Skinwalker Ranch? Was it before you met them or after?
After they left, which I was kind of against it, but like dummy go. My boyfriend loves like to collect things, and I go and get the biggest rock I could find, lift, and I take it, which was wrong because I broke the rule, and I sure paid the price for it. So,
Okay, and what kind of
yeah.
things have happened? Did you attribute taking something from Skinwalker Ranch as bad? What did you notice first?
Probably the stroke.
Okay.
I was airlifted to the hospital. I was almost dead. They gave me a blood thinner. It's called TPA, and I was stroking out. I was airlifted to the hospital because I live in the mountains. And the doctor said, "You're a single mom. You're
Mm-hmm.
paralyzed on your half of your left side. We could save you, but then you can also die." 1 out of 5 people that once we administer this drug to you, you can bleed out completely and die immediately, or you can give this drug and all the effects of being paralyzed on one side will come back and you'll be okay. Like, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to take a chance and do it. Just get it done. Because I'm not going to be a single mom, like half paralyzed. My daughters deserve better. You know what I mean? I did it for my daughters. And I pray to God. I called them. I said, I love you. People I love you. And that's what happened. And I got better and better and better. I was in the ICU for about 5 days. This is something very interesting that I'm going to share with you. My mom was, of course, there, and she took a picture of me laying flat. You have to lay flat when you're on this drug in the ICU. When she came in, I don't know why, but she took a picture of me, like in the ICU. Well, I left the house because I was once again attacked on Thanksgiving. And my mom, I've been waiting for a settlement. I was in a car accident, and my mom, and they're taking forever to give me the money so I can move. And my mom sent a picture, and she said, send this to your attorneys. Tell them you need the money soon because, like, you need medical insurance. You need to have a house. And the picture she sent me was like a stream of light, which I'm going to send you. It's like a beam of light, and I'm like dead in the picture. And there's creatures around my bed, and I'll send it to you so you can see it. It's and this happened like 2 weeks ago that she sent me the picture. And I have the original picture with no beam of light and no creatures around the picture. Like, where did this come from? Like, I don't.
What kind of creatures are we talking about?
I'll send it to you. It's like one, like, it looks like a skull with a girl with blonde long hair. I'm dirty. Like, this is what scares me. After I was taken to the hospital, I took a shower, obviously, and a lot of dirt came off of my hair and stuff. And I'm like, was I outside in dirt? I don't understand. It was the bathtub was black of like dirt in my hair. Like, was I out there rolling around in dirt I was very confused. They confuse you when they zap you. You don't know, like, as an example, I stood up and the room started spinning. I took 2 steps and fell flat on my face. I wasn't able to walk. I had to crawl. And the worst part of it was I was so dehydrated, losing so much blood, that I was asking my dog, can you please get me some water? Please help me get some water. I need water, because I was so dehydrated. I was so sick. So much happened. It was terrifying.
And now
it's like a living.
You're still in and out of the hospital because you're in a hotel room to be in proximity.
I haven't been back. They wouldn't release me because I wasn't able to care for myself because I couldn't walk and stuff. So they were going to put me in a convalescent home. And my boyfriend was flying. He was in Ohio for Thanksgiving. He was flying back home to take care of me. But when my best friend heard they're going to put her in a convalescent home until someone can take care of her, she came and signed the release, and she took care of me while my boyfriend came to take care of me. And now I'm walking, I'm eating, I
Mm-hmm.
lost about 25 pounds. I got 2 units of blood.
Right. And yeah, I mean, and looking at, I mean, I looked a little bit on your profile here to see what you did for a living. I mean, you had a really good paying job. You're working full time. I mean, I'm trying to
Yeah.
paint a portrait here of someone who was, kind of the poster child of success.
I work with cancer patients. I work
Uh,
with hospice patients. I'm a pharmacy technician. I mean, I worked in a hospital for 17 years. My life and my mission in my life is to help others.
mm-hmm.
And that's my mission in life, that God has given me that honor. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just who I am. I love helping people. And I don't think about myself, I think of others. I don't do favors for people
Mm-hmm.
and then expect something back. I do
Mm-hmm.
things to help people live a better life. I don't expect anything from anybody at all. Cautious.
Now,
I don't
Sarah,
sue or what.
Sarah, you mentioned, okay, so you mentioned God, though. I want to come to this statement here.
Yeah.
Now, how has that informed you on what you're dealing with here? Has it informed you as far as any kind of speculation on what these entities are? Has it affected your faith, your worldview? What has happened to you
It's made my
religious wise?
stronger. It's made my faith. You know what? This is actually a blessing of what happened, because there was a lot of times that I've been through so many trials. I was married 20 years to a fireman. I was very loyal. I never cheated. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I'm like God. I'm not. But I cleaned the house. I took care of the girls. I was married to a fireman. I stopped my career to put him through like his fire career, and I got basically robbed $100,000 when we sold our home, when I had to file for divorce. He cheated on me many times, and my faith in God started to dwindle. Once I moved into this house, I know for a fact there's a God because I've seen the devil. So I know there's a God. And I know that I've had guardians protect me when all this was happening. Does that make sense?
Well, sure. Now, let me ask you about these guardians. Are you saying that you saw physical manifestations of angels or lights, or what did you see?
I mean, well, for one, like orbs are all over my house all the time. I have pictures I'll show you of orbs everywhere, and they even go through the window, like they go in the house, like the orbs. I have pictures of it from the Ring doorbell. But as far as my faith, I believe that he said, I'm going to put you through a lot, but thank you for not losing my faith. Thank you for not losing faith in me. Like, I've put you through so much, and your faith is so strong. And that's what makes it, I'm blessed that I went through all this. Like you said to me earlier, would you go through it again? Absolutely, I would. Knowing what I know now, absolutely. There was times where my daughter would come home and I would be at the foot of her bed watching like the cameras all night long to make sure that they weren't going to break in the house to hurt my daughter. And she doesn't even know that I'm in her room at the foot of her bed at all. You know, does that make sense? And then I have to get up and I have to crawl out of her room and in the morning, stand up and go, good morning. It's time to get up for school. Let mommy help you. You know what I mean? Like, she had no clue that I was in her room at the foot of her bed, protecting her, watching the camera. I also did this every single night. I did the rebuke in the name of Jesus Christ through the Ring has a speaker so you could talk and they can listen. And I would do the rebuke in the name of Jesus Christ. But they didn't go away. It didn't scare them at all. I'm like, what's going on here? I thought they would leave when you say rebuke, but they didn't. So, I don't know.
Do you have any guesses or why that would be?
I don't know why. I asked myself that.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of them did leave, but not. A lot of them stayed. You know what I mean? They stayed. I don't know why. But there's so much more that's happened that I'm just giving you a little pieces of the things that have happened.
Right. You mentioned
Like,
that you've been
I
you've been taken.
I can actually like let you be part of like my security, so you can look at my security device, and you could log on whenever you want, and you could see what's going on at night. You could see them walking, like in my backyard. The lights go on and off. The police were there. They were called like 4 times because they were trying to break into the house,
Mm-hmm.
and like the police were in the kitchen, and like the lights started flickering only in the kitchen. Then they go in the living room, the lights would flicker only in the living room. Like electricity wise, they're able to. I don't know if it's ghost stuff or I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
But
it sure
I saw something.
it doesn't sure as hell doesn't sound like just ghost stuff. I mean, you have
Well, this reptilians. I've seen You know what's scary is I started looking through the Ring device and see when there's like a break-in, you can alert your neighbors saying, "I just got broken into, and it's this address, half a mile from you, and I want you guys to be warned," basically. So what happened was this lady said something like, "Is this a bear? Because it's like winter. What is this creature?" And I look at it, I enlarge the picture, and it's a reptilian. We are reptilians. They're ugly. They're green. They have three toes, and they're bad, like bad. And I never even knew about reptilians until like recently. And they're like light green color. They look like snakes. It's weird. So there's dogman, reptilians, and there's also Sasquatch.
Okay, Sarah, let's dig in here a little bit. Your family lineage, going back to your mother's side in particular, has your mother been visited at all?
Yes.
Okay, and her mother,
She's like
your grandmother,
she's scared.
is your
My grandmother passed away.
Are you aware if your grandmother had any stories similar to what you're talking about?
I know that my grandmother was a product of rape, and that supposedly she was cursed, like any females in the bloodline would be cursed to have bad marriages, is what I was told.
Wait, now why would she be cursed, and who would curse your grandmother?
Well, she was a product of rape, and whoever, I don't know who did it or who did the curse or whatever, but I was told that she was a product of rape, and that
there was a curse on your family line.
There was a curse on my family line.
Okay, but is this more of a figurative curse, or do you think that there actually was a curse placed on the family line by an individual?
I think there was a curse that was put on by a family individual.
Okay, and do we know?
This is the weird thing is like she was adopted and she married her stepbrother, which is so dysfunctional. Like I just don't get it. It's a stepbrother, but still weird.
This is still your grandmother we're talking about.
Yeah, my grandmother.
And where's your grandmother from?
I mean,
was your grandmother an immigrant to the U.S.?
She was Spanish.
Okay.
She was from Spain.
Okay, and did you know her well?
No, she died when I was like 6 years old.
Okay, and did your mother talk about your grandmother at all?
Yeah, she had like 14 brothers and sisters, and
okay,
my grandmother just cooked. And like it was one of those poor families in Mexico where they just keep having kids, and then the oldest one takes care of the other one. You know what I mean? It was no like love, or there was no.
Right. It was.
I don't even.
It was more work related, like we
it
need.
Was a hard time.
Okay, and what about your?
They were very poor, but
your mother. Your mother. You said that you thought that maybe she had stuff happen to her. What possibly happened to your mom?
What do you mean, like as far as?
Well, did your mother have any kind of experiences similar to yours?
No, like she's very religious, very stubborn, very narrow-minded. Like I said, Mom, why don't you see? My mom started saying, Claudia, I think you're just seeing things. And then my daughter looked at her and said, I've seen them. she's not lying. I've seen them. And then my mom totally changed her tune. And now everything changes. Of course, now she believes me because my daughter said something.
Okay.
So,
And what
I mean, one day we were like,
has your
I
daughters
was
all
taking
seen
my daughter
something
to
too?
school. Yes.
Okay.
So as many other people.
Okay.
And just so you know, like all this is on video footage Ring. So I have a lot of pictures as well. And this is something interesting. The police came and said, he said, I want to see like footage on your Ring
Mm-hmm.
because you just show me screenshots. I want to see the entire Ring. Like I want to see one walk.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did. I showed him one. It took like 6 minutes. And he said, this is so surreal because, see, you just show me screenshots, but when you see the actual footage of them walking across your property,
Right.
it's a whole different ballgame. See, and that's when I learned something. I'm like, okay, people need to see the entire footage so they know, they see what, you know what I
Right.
mean?
I mean, aside from the screenshot of you showing you what appears to be floating away from your Ring camera, the still shots do make it tough to figure out what's happened before and after because there's not much in the middle part of the story there.
right.
So is there any video out there that people can access of what you've described?
Yeah. I mean, I'll show it to you. And as far as discretion, I have to wait until after October, and I'll be happy to share everything I have. Everything. Okay. I have an iCloud where like I pay monthly to have everything recorded and stored, so I don't lose the footage.
Okay.
And I actually send footage to people that are pretty significant, so it doesn't get lost. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Sometimes things disappear with the government. Blah blah blah. I've called the FBI. I've called the game warden. They came and took pictures, and there's 27 Thai footprints on my property. 27 different. Some are 6 toes, 3 toes, 5 toes, like almost inbred. So
has the government gotten
you can come in the day with me,
Sarah?
Out there.
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to put some heads together here on this. Have you been contacted at all by any government agency about this? I mean, have you been met?
Talk to me.
Well, have you been messed with? Has your phone been tapped? Has your computer been messed with?
Yeah.
Okay, what's happened there?
I've been hacked a lot. I'm almost trying to discredit me. But so what I do is I change my cell phone constantly. I don't usually use the Wi-Fi at my house. I use data because I don't want them finding my information. I have my car lifted up and checked for tracking devices. I make sure I was followed by government agency. I have pictures of its license plate. I was followed twice. And I was thinking I was going to go down the mountain and they could push me off easily, like off the mountain and die. So what I did is I went into the city and then I made a quick circle at the post office and then I followed him. And then I grabbed my cell phone and I start videotaping him. He sees me videotaping him and he speeds off about 80 miles an hour in like a normal town. I'm not going to chase him because I'm not going to kill someone. It's, you know what I mean? And I have that pictures of it too. And it was a government license plate.
What kind of vehicle are they? What kind of vehicle are they in when they're following you? Are they in a normal vehicle?
No, one was like a white pickup truck, pretty big. The other one, the guy was wearing like, it was like a small car. He had a beanie hat on. He had like a red and black plaid shirt. And he stopped in front of my house. So as I'm making a left into my driveway, his car got stuck because it was snowing. And like his back tires were spinning out. And he sees me grab my cell phone. But he gave me the most dirtiest look, like saying, "You need to die." It was that feeling of like dread, just like scary. It was scary. And I'm thinking, I've been in front of a 1,000-pound creature. Do you seriously think that you are intimidating me? Like, seriously, like, move out of my way. Do you know what I mean? You
Right,
get a
right.
little bit cocky, a bit more bold, I guess, the word is.
Now, do you
So
still go home to check in on it? Are your daughters at home? What's going on at the house right now?
I don't bring my children there anymore. That's why I'm in the hotel. Unfortunately, tomorrow I have to go back there, and I'm scared to death. But I've been looking at the camera every single day. I got to charge my camera, and you're more than welcome to come and spend time with me if you want to
Mhm.
see it for yourself. So
Okay.
I invite you to come to my home. I'm going to be moving soon in the next couple of months. So I would love for you to come just so you can see it for yourself.
Okay.
It's
And
free.
is
It's
this
free.
this is somewhere in Southern California, or where is this?
Yeah, Southern California.
Okay. All
I'll
right.
just say it's near Big Bear, California.
Okay. And you're moving because you have to move. You're not. Would you
I want
necessarily?
to move.
You want to move.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not attached to the
I want,
land at all. There's not any kind of weird obsession with trying to understand
well,
what's going on.
it's weird to say this, but there's like a part of me that I feel like I'm being pulled to go out there. Like,
Hmm.
I want to go. I don't know what. I get pulled there, and I don't know why. Like, it's such a horrible place. Why would I want to go back? But I feel like I need to go back. And this is
Hmm.
what bothers me. The last time I brought my daughter, she said, "Mom," like at 5 a.m, she starts to cry. I'm at the foot of her bed. I like crawl out of her room, stand up, walk back in her room, running in there, saying, "Are you okay? What's going on?" She said, "Mom, I wasn't dreaming. They gave me a vision." And I said, "Who's they?" She said, "The Sasquatch." She said, "They killed because he said, 'Girls, run to the shed.' And he was trying to save us. They killed him."
Wait, now
And
who's
she said,
who's
my
okay?
boyfriend.
Okay. So she had a vision
And
of
then
him being killed.
yes, and
Okay.
because he was protecting us
Okay.
from saying, "Girls, run to the shed. They're in the house." And she said, "Mom, they're in the house." And they are. They were. I mean, we find their footprints, oily. And then there's also this, I don't know what it is, if it's the rake or if it's a reptilian, but I find this black tar looking thing where they spit. And once it dries, it's like fabric. And I find a lot of it in the house. And I don't know what that means. Is that from the rake? Is that for the
Oh,
reptilian?
wow. Okay.
I've never even, and I even have the specimen. I saved it. I also have their oil. I got a Q-tip and I oiled it, like their footprints, because
Hmm.
they come in the house. I have this is another thing that's scary. We left one whole day to work. When I came back, it was raining. The whole upstairs, like, is carpet, and it was full of footprints everywhere, muddy footprints. I had to get like a shampoo and like clean my carpet because they were inside my house.
I mean, you're sitting on a
So
mountain of evidence. I mean, this is all you've done is
DNA.
journal and chronicle
Yeah.
hardcore evidence of the supernatural coming in your
Hardcore.
house. I mean, you're saying some
Hardcore.
stuff here that I'm not really cluing you in on that is validating your encounters here. You've mentioned several things that I'm familiar with along the way here and things that I'm just now saying, oh, maybe that's what that was. Um, the black
Have you
fat,
seen the black car?
the black tar stuff is something new. I don't think it will be too long before someone gets a hold of me and says, "Oh, you don't know about the black tar," but no, I've never heard of that or a rake being involved here. Describe what a rake is.
Yeah, rakes are not nice. They're like bald humans that are. I heard they spit poison at you, and that's how they eat their prey. People.
Okay.
This is what I'm thinking. This is my theory: is when people are missing, which is there's a man missing right on my property. He's on missing 411. He was very intelligent, professor or something, PhD wise, and he became missing. And what I believe is happening is people are walking into the portals and they don't know they're in the portal, just like I didn't know it was the portal. But because I had the Ring doorbell, I knew I was in the portal. I believe that when they want to close the portal and leave and you're there, you go with them. That's why dogs, rescue dogs, walk around in circles because they don't know
Right.
where to
The
go.
the scent
The
is
person's
gone, right?
gone.
Right.
The person's gone. And I mean, I've seen such horrible things that I can't even talk about. Like, it's so horrible. Like, I can't even. It's so hard.
Sarah,
It's
when
so
you,
hard.
yeah, well,
Bodies of just bodies
you
trying to
said,
get out of this hole.
wait, you've had visions of bodies trying to get out of this portal?
It's on the video.
Okay.
It's like the ground opens and like, I don't understand it. Creatures are coming out of it and there's people there. And I don't know if they're dead or alive. I don't know. And I'm like, am I hallucinating? Am I crazy?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And then this is what happens. I woke up at 5:30 in the morning. I have my routine. I take a shower, and then I walk my dogs because I'm going to be gone. I take them, and it's still dark out. At 6 in the morning, I come back in, and I go upstairs to help my daughter get ready for school. Well, as I was coming into my house, I got hit in the back of the head really hard. I felt pain in the back of my head. And all I remember was as I was falling, trying to look back to see what hit me. And then the next thing I know, I'm waking up in the ICU. This is now like 2 or 3 times in the ICU. The nurse said, welcome back. Do you know who you are? What day is it today? I said, today's Monday. She goes, today's Wednesday. I'm like, okay. Where am I? She's like, you're in a hospital. I'm like, okay. So what happened was the doctor came in and he said, can I ask you a question? Do you remember anything that happened? I said, I remember being hit in the head or like something painful in my head. And then he said, I have a question for you. Who's been scratching your back? Why do you have so many scratches on your back? You should see my bruises on me, cuts, everything. I have pictures of everything. Like bruises, like if somebody was like holding me. You know what I mean? I'll send you the pictures and stuff so you can see it.
So Sarah,
It's
Sarah, the scratches on your back, can you describe those at all? Do you have photographs of those?
There's
What do you
4.
mean?
There's like it's like if you grabbed like 4 fingers and just scratched my back.
Okay.
And have pictures of it.
Are they wide scratches? Are they thin? Are they?
They're thin.
Okay.
They're thin.
Are they straight?
Then,
Are they curled at the? How do they look on your back? Are they straight lines? Are they curved? Are they angled? What's the deal?
They're straight.
Okay.
From what I saw. And my best friend said that like the hospital called because now my boyfriend's being questioned for like attempted murder. Like what happened to her? Who hit her in the back of the head? Concussion. So now they're questioning him, which is terrifying. My little girl said, no, he was asleep. And what happened was my daughter sets her alarm for 6:15 in the morning. And what happens is, in case I oversleep, she's my backup alarm, right? So she says she woke up at 6:15, went downstairs, saw me on the floor, ran, woke him up and said, Mom, something's wrong with Mom. Like, please hurry. Like, so he went downstairs, called 911, and my best friend heard about it. She came to the house, and my best friend said, look, like, it's not him, but there's been things happening paranormal in this house, and we don't know what to do or how to get help. Who do you call when things like this happen?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
turned into a suspect because of this.
right.
Okay.
Now he's cleared, of course. But
okay.
It's hard. But he was cleared, of course. You know what I mean?
Right. No, but I mean, this is really, really personal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
so
he was watching
go ahead.
He sees like the curtains are open and he sees like a figure look like a ghost, like white, and it looked at him, and then he saw it, he gets up and goes right immediately to the balcony, thinking there's somebody trying to break in. And he said within about a minute, the thing was gone. Like, what was it? I don't know. So
Okay.
all this stuff.
And have you been open about the paranormal side of this stuff publicly?
No,
Okay. Have you done another radio show about this side of things?
no.
Okay. All right. Well, this is going to get a lot of attention here because of just how credible you are. The nuances
Thank
of
you.
the nuances of the details that you're describing, and you're not alone. You may feel alone
Thank
right
you.
now because you're not alone at all. I mean, you're speaking to someone who
Thank you.
can vouch for so much of what you described. But there are people listening right now, and if people want to get a hold of you and to reach out to you, how can they? Do you have an anonymous email set up to where people can find you, or do you want them to go through me? How would you like to work that?
I have to think smart. So
Mm-hmm.
I will make a Facebook or maybe a website.
An email. Why don't we just you and I will work on an email. Maybe the words use the name Sarah or something to that effect. Okay. And if people want to get a hold of Sarah, they can get a hold of me at strangebrowradio@gmail.com, and then I will forward off these letters to Sarah once she gets a new email. And then you and I, let's touch bases before you move here. Okay. And then let's just keep in touch. Okay, and with that, the interview was over. The signal was lost for whatever reason, and talked to her a little bit on the old messenger board I spoke about earlier, and we finished our phone call that way, but we're still in contact, and there's more to the story for sure since we last spoke, and I will let her tell the rest of it as we get to know one another. But again, that was Sarah. I told you, it's quite an encounter story. And like I said on the interview, if you want to reach out to Sarah personally, or you have some advice along the way, you can get in touch with me and I will forward off that message to her. Just shoot me an email at strangebrowradio@gmail.com. And if you yourself live at one of these places, now, like I said before, I would love to make this show only about working with people that live on these amazing places. And if you have your own amazing spot, your own skin twin, you can get in touch with me at strangebrowradio@gmail.com. And I'd love to talk to you, even if we're just talking off the record. Don't even need to record it. You could write me a letter and let me know what it's like to live on such a place there. But obviously, here's someone who'd love some advice. And so shoot me an email if you can at strangebrowradio@gmail.com. Okay, so episode 2 of the Travel Channel's Expedition Bigfoot. Well, it showcased some of these Al Moon audio sounds, in particular one, and it was it looks like there was some reciprocation, appreciation after it was played in Eastern Oregon near, I believe, Bend or Sisters, Oregon, up there in the High Cascades. So guess we'll have to wait to episode 3 to see what exactly that was. I think that they were trying to locate where the call back, if we're going to call it a call back, was actually at location-wise. They just kind of shot up a grid of some kind in order to figure out where this transpired. And there's been some emailing between me and some of the people in the show to see exactly what they think was possibly responding to that. And haven't heard anything back yet, but I will keep you guys all in the loop. Also, coming up quickly, January 4th, I mean, Christmas is going to be come and gone before you know it, and then New Year's, and then January 4th at Manresa Castle, we have paranormal researcher Mary Bethune from 7 to 10. And that will be a free event. Come to a haunted castle, especially if you're within a couple hours. It's a worthwhile trip. Saturday night at a haunted castle, book a room, and meet me, Mary Bethune, and the whole haunted crowd that will show up there. Again, that is January 4th, 2020 in Port Townsend, Washington at the Manresa Castle. Free live show, Podcastle Live. Also, thanks to the Patreon members that have subscribed over the last couple weeks. That's awesome and much appreciated. It keeps this pirate ship afloating along, and you can do that, of course, at patreon.com/strangebrowradio. Extra content, extra videos, extra podcast. There's going to be some interesting stuff coming up in the end of December here for patron members, and probably some more added footage, of course, in January from the Podcastle Live. That's where we put those videos in the members section. So any guests we interview at the Manresa Castle in general, especially on our free live events, will be for members of patreon.com/strangebrowradio. And that's it for the show. I don't think there's anything else that I can mention beyond that. That's it. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Yule, and I will talk to you before the end of the year. And as always, I will see you in the trees.